Infinite Justice.
Welcome back, everybody. Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs from gundam.tk, and I'm continuing my look at the parts from the Master Grade Infinite Justice. Looking good so far. Bottom to top for the parts, and of course the first thing you're going to notice is the color. This does not look like a lead Gundam, and nor should it. But anyway, it's a great mobile suit, so who can complain? In terms of mobility here for the legs, you're going to be able to split it there. You'll notice that this part splits nicely, revealing some of the inner frame, which is a dull silver. This is not shiny, no make parts, nothing like the Strike Freedom full burst mode. But otherwise, you'll notice a lot of similarities when you're putting them together. The white on the shins really helps to show off the effect parts when you attach them in there, so it looks a little bit out of place without them in, but otherwise silver parts that are a little bit shiny there on the side, and you're able to move this part here depending on where you put the, when you're bending it, so you can have the effect parts in the right place. The ankles bend here, and they move fairly well off to the side. This armor doesn't get in the way. You've got those pipe-looking things in there, so nothing fancy, but solid legs overall. Very good details here on the waist section, which is always a pleasant surprise. You've got these white tips down at the end with these gray parts in the middle, just adding a little bit of extra detail, along with gray parts here. Put some black or red lining around here. A brown real touch marker or a red real touch marker would also work really well. And little details like the way this green part has these slits in there to show off the black or dark gray underneath. Nice touches. Now, more impressively, well, the beam sabers don't always want to stay in that well, but they do fit in and they look good because of their oversized cartoon nature. When you're looking at the top, you've got these silver parts here, but this has a very interesting mechanism on the inside, and that's why I've attached this leg here. You're able to slide this skirt back and like this, and of course it's going to fall off 9 times out of 10. But when you do that, you'll notice inside that if you have the legs in there, you can pop them out. And when you've got this in here, basically it pinches everything into place. But with these two holes, if you popped out both of these parts here, you would be able to lock those into place to have the legs ready and out in the kick position, which is something very solid. And I remember when I was building Master Grade Destiny, I didn't like the mechanism they had, but this one works a lot better. A very well done job on the chest, which according to the manual should be the first thing you build. And when you're putting it all together, of course, the colors all work. Some people don't like this green, so this is something that you may want to paint a different color depending on how you feel. But anyway, I've seen people go both ways with that, and it seems to work. But little details like this, these clear parts down here and the gray parts at the end of the Vulcans look great, along with the white part here around the black part in the middle. When you pop this part open, you're going to have a very distinctive looking helmet in there of the pilot, looking very Zaftish. And on the back, you have these thrusters down here. You're also able to open this up, and then that opens up a new range of mobility here. But when you lock that into place, everything should stay in properly, and the backpack should get a solid mount mechanism in there, hopefully. The way the shoulders pop out here, it makes me want to go Destiny Gundamish on this and pop these off and throw them as boomerangs, but this guy has enough weapons on his own. Some gray, I put some gray and black lining all over the place here, but pretty simple shoulders, just pink parts with this white part being the only thing that stands out. From the Strike Freedom family, if you want to call it that, the arms are very solid and they're impressive in their simplicity, if you want to put it that way. You're able to spin this part around, which is good because then it doesn't look like you just have an empty bicep up there when this part is visible under the shoulder. The arms are going to give you a bend of 90 and then the 180 there. Silver parts there in the joints. Big attachment there so you can put on the shield, a little bit of lining there. And the manipulators, nothing too fancy. They come forward like this, but they're able to bend like this on a full mechanism. And of course you've got the 3-finger trigger finger split. Moving on to the weapons, nothing fancy about this except for the fact that it looks good. And the reason they do that is just this could be all just gray or white or whatever, but by doing the gray, putting this white part over the top, putting this additional part above the clear part, and the pink accents along there with a little bit of lining, makes this one of the more memorable hand weapons in Gundam. This part also does slide down here, and the sight can pivot. Now, I don't know of any features that are not built into Infinite Justice's Swiss Army shield here, and basically as a shield, it looks fantastic, and that's because of the multiple colors. You've got this kind of red, the pink, the white, and the silver. Everything looks good along with the gray at the end. Now, in terms of gimmicks, you can take this effect parts here, and if you put that in the right way, you're going to get this huge beam saber-like thing sort of DX size almost, that goes at the end. So that is an impressive looking weapon by itself. But when you pop this off here, and it's a solid looking click there, you're able to bend that down and then put this in hand and just use this as another type of beam or boomerang. The next feature is the grapple stinger, and if you pop off this part here and then you take these scissor type parts out of here, if you attach on that wire, and I haven't put the cap back on, but you attach this wire, has a part at either end here in red, so you put that on, bend that into shape, and then you've got the scissors at the end, and no weight issues. So this is something that you may actually want to use on display. When you take this part off, you're able to split that into two, and it's got a yellow piece on there, which you can put a little bit of lining on. And with this blue part, you can put this over the top here. But I have to say that the effect, this will depend on the person. I sort of like Strike Freedom with just the blue shield, and it's unfortunate that they don't give you a mechanism that you can choose just to put this on. It seems like a little bit overkill to do the double shield, but then again, it is unique. The backpack, however, has a million gimmicks built into it, and it's none the worse for it. First of all, these yellow parts here can move at the front, and by doing that, you're able to slide this back, because of course that's how you're going to put it onto the back itself. Now, the other big thing about this is when you pull these out, did you see how the wings went down automatically? Cool touch. You also have the ability to put on these effect parts here, which I didn't mention earlier, but you're going to have even more effect parts than what I said. You're also able to slide these parts back to expose some weapon parts in there, and if you pop out those handles, yeah, he can go hang gliding and hang with this thing above him as he attacks. Now, the attach mechanism is pretty solid looking as you bend that down there, and otherwise, everything is looking very impressive about this. Lots of different colors, and because it's a different color from the rest of the Gundam, it really does stand out. So full marks on the backpack. And just to show you this now, when you flip these parts out here to put them in the back, you can put those parts in, and then when you attach this on, this is going to give you a very solid base, hopefully, when you attach it onto an action base for aerial poses, for which this thing really needs to survive. Here's another attachment piece that you're going to get, and this is an extension that you can use when you're putting the backpack on the action base. The beam sabers are all sparkly pink, put in a little bit of lining, and it's got that red tip at the end, which is looking good. And inside this attachment that you can use when putting this on an action base as well, they give you the bonus of the Darth Maul attachment. So what you do is you pop this white part out and put this on, and then you're able to go double beam saber style. In addition to the beam saber looking part on the shield, the two beam sabers themselves, the effect parts here on the backpack, you're also going to get two long and one short one here that you can attach from the knees with this bend mechanism and to the top of the foot. Now, what it tells you to do in the thing is that these parts don't bend very much naturally on their own. So what it tells you to do is to take it in put this in 40-degree water for 2 minutes. And once you've done that, you're going to get a nice bend. So because they give you a couple of them, that's something that I can give a try to, and then you won't feel bad if it doesn't work. But then you'll have a nice bend as the leg gets ready to kick in a more whooshing, natural-looking pose. And last but not least, the most important feature of the Infinite Justice is its trademark head with its unicorn commander's horn up there on the top along with the huge V-fin. But what's impressive about this is a couple things. First, you've got the silver part under the white chest or face mask here, so when you plug that in, you've got that little bit of silver protruding, which looks great, and otherwise something on the old 1/100 that you'd have to paint yourself. Silver Vulcans here on the side really stand out under the pink. The fact that you've got the name written on there, a little bit of space to put on some lining there, as well as on the V-fins. Nothing fancy in the back, a little bit more opportunities for some lining and a seal there. But here's my only complaint. The white looks great here on the horn. And what I did is I painted these blue, but nobody can tell, can you? So that's something that the stickers are probably going to look better, but that could have been fixed by Bandai, perhaps providing two of these pink things, one of them with an open back. So with that open back, you'd be able to get the sunlight pop through, and all of a sudden, boah, you've got Infinite Justice looking all awesome with a clear blue part that stands out, because when you look at the box art, it looks great. And my painting that is a little bit disappointing, so I wanted to show you that before I put the seals on. But otherwise, the little details like the silver down here make this a winner. Just with the parts alone, there's a lot to talk about so far, and so far, everything is pretty pleasing. It was a fantastic build along the way. The colors work. The number of gimmicks and effect parts that you get makes this a pleasure, along with how many different mechanical devices that they built into here, along with the things like the waist section. So far, just from the parts, I'm pretty pleased about this. But, as I always say, none of that matters unless this works put together as a posable Gundam. So stay tuned for the next part to see this all put together. As always, Robert184, gundam.tk. Let me know what you think of the video. Like if you do, don't if you don't. See you next part, everybody. So many weapons for something that's primarily for defense.